Early in the morning, we could hear the sounds of war getting closer. The Germans were coming for Kiev. I was a young Soviet soldier, just 20 years old, and stationed in the city with my comrades. The situation was dire. Our forces were being surrounded by the enemy, and we were ordered to hold our ground, no matter what. The Germans had started their attack on the Soviet Union in June with Operation Barbarossa. They had moved quickly and taken over many areas. Now, they were focused on Kiev. We spent days digging trenches, building defenses, and getting ready for the attack. Our commanders told us we had to protect Kiev. It was an important city, and we couldn't let it fall. The first German attack came suddenly. We were in our trenches when the ground started shaking from the explosions. Artillery shells rained down, and the air was filled with smoke and dust. My heart pounded in my chest, but I held my rifle tightly, ready to fight. The German tanks and soldiers moved towards us, and we fired back with everything we had. The fighting was intense. We were outnumbered, outgunned, but we held on. My comrades and I fought bravely, determined not to let the Germans through. The noise of the battle was deafening, and the smell of gunpowder was everywhere. We saw friends fall, but we kept going, knowing that we had to defend our city. In the trenches, life was harsh and unforgiving. We crouched in the mud, barely able to lift our heads without risking a sniper's bullet. The Germans were relentless, their artillery pounding our positions day and night. The constant shelling left our ears ringing and our nerves frayed. The ground was littered with debris and the bodies of fallen comrades, a grim reminder of the battle's cost. Every now and then, we would hear the call to prepare for an attack. The Germans would charge our lines, and we would rise to meet them, rifles at the ready. The fighting was close and brutal. Bullets whizzed past, and grenades exploded around us. I remember the fear in my heart, but also the fierce determination. We fought with bayonets, fists, and whatever else we could use. The trench walls were smeared with mud and blood as we struggled to hold our ground. During one particularly fierce battle, we faced wave after wave of German soldiers. They came at us with machine guns and flamethrowers, trying to break our lines. I remember the screams of the wounded and the deafening roar of the flamethrowers. We fought back desperately, firing our rifles and throwing grenades. The trench became a hellish place, filled with smoke, fire, and the cries of men. But we didn't give up. We knew that every inch of ground we held was crucial. Days turned into weeks, and the fighting didn't stop. We were tired, hungry, and scared, but we never gave up. The Germans kept coming, and we kept pushing them back. The city was in ruins, and many civilians had fled. Those stayed helped us in any way they could, bringing us food and water, and tending to the wounded. One night, during a brief lull in the fighting, I sat with my comrades around a small fire. We talked about our families, our homes, and our hopes for the future. Despite the danger, we found comfort in each other's company. We knew we were fighting for something bigger than ourselves. We were fighting for our country, our people, and our way of life. But the Germans were relentless. Their numbers and firepower were too much for us to withstand. Slowly, they pushed us back, closer and closer to the heart of the city. Our supplies were running low, and our lines were stretched thin. We fought valiantly, but it was clear that we couldn't hold out much longer. In late September, the inevitable happened. The Germans broke through our defenses and entered Kiev. We were ordered to retreat, but many of us were captured or killed. The city we had fought so hard to protect was now in enemy hands. As I was taken prisoner, I looked back at the smoking ruins of Kiev. The loss was devastating, but I vowed to keep fighting, to honor the memory of my fallen comrades, and to one day help liberate my beloved city. As a prisoner of war, I endured many hardships, but I never lost hope. The Battle of Kiev was a bitter defeat, but it strengthened my resolve. I knew that one day we would rise again and reclaim our homeland. The spirit of the Soviet people was unbroken, and our fight for freedom continued. Through all the pain and loss, I held on to the belief that our sacrifices were not in vain. The Battle of Kiev was a chapter in a long and brutal war, but it was also a testament to the courage and resilience of those who stood against overwhelming odds. We had fought with all our hearts, and in the end, that spirit would help us achieve victory.